Discover the best in local business news with a subscription to the IBJ and Inside Indiana Business. For a limited time, try us out for just $1 a week for 8 weeks. Claim this limited time offer now at ibj.com/trial offer.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Friday, February 6, 2026. I'm Alex Brown. A prototype electric truck that is set to be produced in Indiana was spotlighted this week by one of the biggest car enthusiasts in the country. The Slate truck was featured this week on Jay Leno's Garage, with the former Tonight Show host taking the truck for a spin.
It's great that as an American company, you haven't given up and just imported something from overseas. You're actually doing it here, and thus making more jobs for Americans, and I think it's great. I think it's something people should get behind.
Slate Auto is refurbishing a former printing plant in Warsaw and plans to begin production of the truck later this year, with the ultimate goal of employing about 2,000 people. Michigan-based Shiloh Industries is planning to close its manufacturing plant in Goshen and lay off 172 workers beginning March 31st. The company did not give a reason for closing the facility, which manufactures hot-stamped products and suspension systems for the automotive industry. Elkhart-based Patrick Industries is reporting full-year net income of $135 million in 2025, down from $138 million the previous year. Despite the dip, the manufacturing company topped $4 billion in sales for the year, a 6% year-over-year increase. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.
Visitors to some Indiana state parks might soon see an increase in entrance fees due to legislation aimed at helping local governments pay for park upkeep. Here's Gary Dick.
Some of the state's most popular state parks, like Brown County and Turkey Run, are in rural areas where local governments say they could use some help paying for infrastructure and water quality projects. House Bill 1204, which passed the House with bipartisan support Monday, would allow entrance fees to be increased by $1 per car at certain state parks and recreation areas. The legislation allows county governments to adopt ordinances to levy the fee for parks within their borders. The fee would not apply to park visitors with annual passes. The money collected from the raised fees could go toward public safety departments or infrastructure related to tourism. Republican Representative Dave Hall of Norman said state parks attract hundreds of thousands of visitors to local communities, which stresses local infrastructure. But county governments often don't see the tax benefits from visitors. The amount of money counties collect would depend on the number of visitors coming into the park. This is the second year Hall has brought the language to increase park entrance fees. Last session, the measure passed the House, but died in the Senate Appropriations Committee. After passing the House with only a handful of dissenting votes, this year's bill is set for a hearing in the Senate Natural Resources Committee on Monday. This is Gary Dick for Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Columbia City-based manufacturing company 80/20 is under new ownership. The company's former parent, MPE Partners, announced this week it has sold the manufacturer to Littlejohn & Company, a private equity firm based in Greenwich, Connecticut. Financial terms of the deal are not being disclosed. 80/20 manufactures multifunction aluminum building systems for a variety of applications, including robotics, material handling, and industrial manufacturing. 80/20 currently has more than 400 employees, and MPE Partners Joe Machado said in an email to Inside Indiana Business that Littlejohn & Company views the company as a platform which will create exciting employment opportunities going forward. Jasper-based Kimball Electronics cut the ribbon today on its 307,000 square foot medical manufacturing facility on the east side of Indianapolis. The facility will support Kimball's medical contract manufacturing operations, which is seeing continued growth, says CEO Rick Phillips.
Our focus as a medical CMO continues to gain momentum as we leverage our unique capabilities in the industry. We expect top-line growth in medical to outpace our other two verticals as we balance our portfolio across the markets we serve.
The opening comes as the company prepares to initiate a year-long rebranding process where its name will change to Kimball Solutions. Jim Cornelison is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.
Curious about what's shaping law in Indiana? From court reforms and NIL rights to mental health courts and energy commissions, the Indiana Lawyer Podcast breaks down the biggest legal issues of our time. I'm your host, reporter Maura Johnson. Join me every other week for your insider guide to what matters in law and why it impacts you. Subscribe now in your favorite podcast app or at ibjpodcasts.com.
The IBJ Media Podcast Network is the soundtrack of a growing state. Indiana is on the move, and you can hear it happening on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. We bring you the voices at the center of our economy, our courts, our companies, and our communities. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation that's building Indiana's future. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit ibjpodcasts.com.